Welcome, everyone, to episode 84 of the RDH Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Chad. Joined alongside me is my brother Tanner after about, a 3-week break. How you doing? How you been? Fans are ready for us to come back. All 64 of you on YouTube. Appreciate it.
Heck yeah, dude.
Let's keep it going. What's up, dude?
It's going well. We've had a lot of sports. We've had a lot of, honestly, big events, just big upsets in sports in general. And I don't think it's going to slow down anytime soon now that we're in the month of April. So I think we're going to keep rolling right into it. And I think let's get started with the March Madness. Even though it is Wednesday, it happened on Monday for that national championship. I think it's still worth talking about on this podcast because what a national championship. I mean, it was, I'll start us off, man. I thought, I was not, super confident on Florida going into that second half. I don't think a whole lot of people were. You watch Houston kind of dominate throughout the season, kind of be a very physical team, and be kind of like not a powerhouse, but just a team that's going to beat you down, kind of drag you to their level in every game that they play. Just super physical basketball and just wearing you down through the course of a game. So seeing Florida come back in the second half was genuinely a big surprise for me. I think Walter Clayton Jr., I thought he played well. He's going to be a high pick in this next upcoming NBA draft. And we got the NFL draft coming up too. That's a little sneak peek. But he's going to be a high pick. And I think he had a lot of leadership in that second half and just kind of galvanized the team in what seemed like a down and out situation for the Florida Gators. What did you see with the Florida Gators and the Houston Cougars in that national championship?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of mentioned it, right? Like Houston's a team that just kind of tries to shut you down defensively, and they play big boy ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I could never do, even though I was like second string on eighth grade. Actually, funny story. My eighth grade year, I was a big basketball guy. Like I said, B team over here. I'm a hockey player, guys. I don't play basketball, so don't judge me on my basketball skill. Even though I'd cross you up and maybe I'd get a layup. Who knows? Anyway, I played basketball in eighth grade. I got 12 points the whole season. I got 11 of them in the first game. Get wrecked. Everyone was like, this kid's a baller. He knows what he's doing. I hit 3 threes, came in the game off the bench, 2 free throws, and then after that, not a single point until the last game of the season. So first game 11, last game 1 point. And then in high school, the coach told me I could play varsity basketball. Just kidding, totally joking. All right, March Madness. I'm pissed off. Like I'm not happy because last year I picked Houston to go to the finals. And this year, I'm like, they're not going to go to the finals. I can't even put them to go in the Final Four. And then you have 4 number ones that make it. And then you have Cooper Flag that just fumble, it's away at the end. And I'm like sitting there, I'm like, this isn't fair. Like, you're watching Cooper Flag dominate the entire tournament the entire time. And then it comes down to that at the end. And you're like, man, like I really wanted to watch Duke in there. Yep. You know what I mean? That's where I was mad at the beginning. And then the SEC teams, like Florida, Auburn, you got all these SEC teams that are in there, which is pretty cool. We've got an SEC champion with Florida, which I think is pretty cool. But like the crazy thing to me is with basketball, it's like the colleges are just so random that are so good at basketball. Like if you would have told me 10 years ago, back in the heyday of like Calipari with Kentucky and in Kansas, right? Like all those guys, University of Houston was going to be in like not only in the championship, but a number 1 seed going into the tournament. You know what I mean? So it's just, I thought Houston watching that first half, I'm like, oh, this is over. You know what I mean? Like this game's over. And then like you said, Walter Clayton Jr. came out absolutely firing and everybody on the Gators started firing. And then Houston got cold. And all you need is someone for a cold streak in basketball. And you got the Florida Gators winning in the end with the crazy ending. Like I said, the game before that with Duke, I just mentioned, had a crazy ending. So March Madness, always is madness. And I may or may not have gotten like 9th out of 10th place in like my bracket that I did too. So like this year I'm down bad in terms of basketball, but I get that, right? Because all I do is just kind of talk shit on basketball throughout the whole year. So you know what? Hey, that's my thoughts on it. Anything else you want to hit on the March Madness aspect, or do you want to go ahead and move on to something else?
I think, kind of to your point, I think Duke was, in my eyes, probably the best remaining team out of that Final Four. And it's a single game elimination tournament, right? And whoever kind of shows up on that day is going to go on. They're going to win. They're going to be the better team, right? I'm not saying that Duke didn't show up in that game in semis, but it's just one of those things like, if that shot does fall for Cooper right at the very end of the game, we're going to be talking about this as Duke maybe potential national championship
I wish.
winners. Like, it could be a whole lot different, right? It could be a whole lot different. So it came down to that one shot, and he was short, and he knew it immediately after it left his hands. You know, you let that just a little step back a little too much, right? So it was tough. It was tough. I wanted to see that go down. I'm not a Duke hater or anything like that. I like Cooper Flag. I just wanted to see him kind of in a final, see what more he can do. Just get a better prospect for the NBA draft, right? Just see he's going to be the number 1 overall pick, but you just want to watch him play, right? You're just like, all right, well, this guy's really good, so I'm just going to turn the game on whenever he's playing. And so he's a freak. He's an absolute menace, and he's going to be doing this for a long time in the NBA because he's young. I don't know if he's very, very young. He's not old enough to drink by multiple years, which is kind of crazy.
No, and if I'm not mistaken, he graduated early at 17 and is 18 years old doing this at Duke, maximum, absolute maximum age.
I think I remember them saying it was 17 or 18 on the broadcast, and I'm just like,
yeah, it's 17 or 18, which is absurd, right? Like that's insane to go do that. And also, like you mentioned, like I mentioned, he'd been not dominating, but he had a couple games in that tournament where he dropped like a 30 piece, and it's like. Yeah, right. And so it's like this kid, in my opinion, consensus number 1. Like he's a kid that you're going to try to build your team around, and it's like, who's going to get him? Is it going to be, Detroit? Is Toronto going to continue to win in the NBA randomly against these teams? Like, who's going to get the tankathon for Cooper Flag? Because if he comes back to Duke, I would be shocked.
I would too.
But I'm thinking, you're the number 1 NBA draft pick.
Yeah.
But yeah, March Madness, solid March Madness. I can't do much worse next year, so we're gonna go for that. Jumping into, we got a ton of sports today. A ton, like Tanner said. We're gonna go UFC right now for those of you listening, because I realized that we never really told you what we're gonna talk about. If you're listening to us, so we're hitting March Madness like we just did. We're done with that. We got the UFC. We got the Masters. We're talking about. We got the Champions League with soccer. We got some Frozen Four we're going to talk about at the end. We got some NBA playoff races going. Tanner's going to get us, and then we got some NHL playoff races going too.
It's on the left side of the screen, and thanks to me for putting that together. I think it's looking pretty good. I think it's holding up pretty well due to the test of time, right? It's looking pretty nice. Sorry, all you Spotify, all you audio listeners. I'm sorry I couldn't grace your ears with my beautiful animation skills in OBS, but. Come over to the YouTube, man. Come over to the YouTube, and you can see what the rundown is on the left side of the screen, right next to Chad, looking real beautiful. We got animation in here. All right, this is high quality production. This is high quality production from yours truly.
Yeah, like a step down from ESPN, I would say. Unbelievable job.
No,
Fox Sports 1, get wrecked. You know what I mean? Like
I'm okay with that.
Like that's the level we're on, right? Like we're not quite at like PFF, like we're not there.
No,
but there we're a little bit lower.
And we got moving parts.
Yeah, like we're kind of like the shitty dive bar. You kind of like stumble upon, and you're like,
it's kind of good.
Wait a second. This place has got some solid food.
Wait, they got $4 beers. Like, what are we doing? Come on.
Yeah, exactly. You walk in, there's some cakes sitting there, and you're like, let's have a party. Anyway, kegs, shoeys, everything going on. UFC 314. We don't got Tai Tuivasa in there, who is famous for the shoeys. This guy literally wins, gets a shoe and takes a shoe from a fan and pours a beer in the shoe and rips the shoe.
I feel like I've seen that. I feel like I've seen that, and it's gross, but it's also a power move.
What an unbelievable just top notch from that man. All right, so like I said, UFC 314. We're not going to go into it big. We just have to mention this card because Volkanovski is back, but we're going to hit that matchup in a sec. I'm going to start watching, honestly, a little bit earlier than most people do. I'm kind of like Theo Vaughn at the prelims. I'm just sitting there at the first fight. But the ones I'm going to mention, I'm going to start with match 6, and that's Dan Ige and Sean Woodson, both Americans. Dan Ige's 18-9, Sean Woodson's 13-1-1. Sean Woodson's a guy that's pretty nasty and a guy that I think is going to kind of edge out this fight, even though Dan Ige is a guy that's been in the octagon for a while and someone that I like to watch. I'm pulling for Dan Ige, but I think that Sean Woodson's gonna potentially put the lights out on that one. And then match 5, we got Dominique Reyes, and there's always a name in here that's just like it's every time people are like, yes, this is the part of the episode where he botches the name.
It's a tough sport.
Nikita Krovalov.
That's a tough sport.
That was pretty solid. I'm not gonna lie to you.
That sounded right. I don't really know if it is.
That sounded right. That sounded good. We're just gonna run with that, and he's gonna get the win. Krovalov, we're gonna give it to him just because of the name. Krovalov's a seasoned vet, 30-9. Dude's almost had 40 professional fights in terms of the UFC. That's absurd.
Wow.
Dominique Reyes is 14-4. He's the guy that Vegas isn't thinking it's going to win. But Nikita Krovalov's got some knockout power, so I'm going to go for him. These are the matches where it starts to get interesting. You got the guy by the name of Bryce Mitchell, who's not favorited in this fight against John Silva, Jean. I could be wrong on that one. He's from Brazil. But Bryce Mitchell, he was a guy that kind of took the UFC by storm, a country dude, literally like a country dude, and just started knocking people out. But then he got knocked out pretty hard. And it's been a while since he's fought, and now he's coming back. So this one's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see him like bring it back and fight. He had some comments that I'm not really going to get into, but we're going to see what he does in the octagon. You know what I mean? And then we've got Yair Rodriguez versus, are you ready for this name? Patricio Pitbull.
That's pretty nice.
His actual last name is Pitbull.
That's pretty cool.
And he's from Brazil.
Wow.
I'm not messing with that guy. I'm not messing with any of these guys, to be fair. My jiu-jitsu is novice compared to all of these guys. I got Yair in this one. Yair's from Mexico. The dude's nasty. And he's been on a hot streak as of late. So I'm going to go with him. Vegas has him as well. Then we've got the second match, the co-main event, Paddy Pimblett, the rising star, and Paddy. Michael Chandler. Hey, Paddy, the baddie.
He's a baddie.
He
I like him.
Is an Instagram follow if you need one. This guy is epic. Also, he like lugs his kids around, like him and his wife lugs his kids around, and like his flow and his hair. Clearly, I'm a fan. You know what I mean? I'm like, this is awesome. Like, this is awesome. And then he throws the hair up in the samurai in his training with striking. I'm like, this guy's top notch. Guy's top notch. Cool. Yeah, right. Michael Chandler had some freaking wars against Charles Oliveira. I don't know if Michael Chandler is going to get this one done, but everyone's been doubting Paddy Pimblett as of late. But after his last win, when he went in there and absolutely ragdolled his last opponent, King Green, I think his name is, if I'm not mistaken. But regardless, they came in and said Paddy didn't have a chance. And Paddy came in there and put him in a guillotine, if I'm not mistaken, took his back, and it was absolutely over. Completely over. Not a guillotine, choke. Absolutely over. I'm hoping Paddy gets this one because the rise of Paddy and just the stardom of him is so funny, and it's awesome because like after every fight he does that little dance where he just sits there and does like this, and like that's just like the most English thing I've ever seen. You know what I mean? Because like every time you watch a Premier League match, like everyone's doing this. Yeah. I'm like, this is absurd. This is awesome. But that's what I'm excited about. This is the big one though. Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopez. And believe it or not, Alexander Volkanovski is actually favorited, which I think is pretty crazy. Diego Lopez is a young kid out of Brazil, 26-6, which is kind of crazy to say because Volk is 26-4. But Volkanovski used to be, you know, he's an Aussie, and he used to be a rugby player, if I'm not mistaken. And this dude is just a tank, man. And he's had some all-out wars. He was the fight that you and I actually watched, one of your first UFC ones that we watched when it was him against Brian Ortega. Mm-hmm. And he had Brian Ortega in a choke at the end, and Brian didn't tap because the round ended. And then turned it. It was insane. Brian Ortega almost had Volkanovski tapped. Almost had him tapped. Almost had the championship. Almost had it. And then he didn't. And the round ended. And Volk came out flying and storming, and his championship stardom started there. And then recently he's run into some brick walls, right? He's had some bad knockouts. But it's Volk. And if you're a UFC fan, you absolutely love this guy. And by the way, Volk, I know you'll never hear this, but your cooking is unbelievable. And I get inspiration from your cooking, so I appreciate that. So that's all the UFC talk we got. We got to throw it in there. It's a good card. You know what I mean? And now
you love it. I mean, I was just saying, you know.
Go ahead.
We'll probably throw it on this weekend for sure because, you know, you can't be missing matches with Paddy the Baddie. I mean, this guy's absolutely electric. Watching the main card as well because You got to. I mean, that's just a very nice 1 and 2. Just fill up your Saturday a little bit. But I do want to say too, I saw a video with Patty for him submitting like 10 consecutive Marines or something like that, which is just absurd. If you didn't know who this guy was, and I somewhat did. Now I definitely do. And that's just like, God dang, that's impressive. That's like
It's jujitsu, man.
they
That's jujitsu.
he's just like boom,
People
bada
that
bing.
say it doesn't work.
Good job.
It's the Marines, dude. Those
The
guys are
Marines.
good.
Those guys are trained in hand-to-hand combat, and no,
Yeah.
and yeah, I mean that video surfaced a little bit ago, and like, doesn't that just show you like how versatile this guy is? You know what I mean?
It's impressive.
Like it does, right?
It's super impressive.
Yeah, this it's going to be a fun fight, and I'll have it on. You'll have it on. It'll be a good time. It's going to be a great time. All right, the biggest sporting event in golf is this week, and it starts tomorrow. The
Very good.
Masters is back. Scotty Scheffler, after a cut hand and all, is back and ready to defend his crown. Here's the biggest question with what I got. Got a couple things for you. Yes, I watch golf too. Everyone listening is like, how the hell does this guy work? I know. I watch sports all the time, except after work, folks. Okay? It's called ESPN Plus. Check it out. Scotty Scheffler, does he come in and do it again? Does Rory McIlroy finally complete the career Grand Slam and get the Masters jacket? If he does, I'm going to be stoked. Rory's playing really well right now. And you've got a lot of other guys that have not been playing well. And how are these guys going to bounce back? How is Justin Thomas going to bounce back? He played some pretty good round in Texas a couple weeks ago. How does Justin Thomas bounce back? How does Max Homa bounce back, right? Like, you've got these guys that aren't necessarily playing at the top of the level that we've been accustomed to seeing them playing. And then you've got these young kids coming in that's actually winning championships that did it last week or the week prior with the kid out of Australia, right? I'm not going to say his name because I'm going to butcher. I think it's like, I'm not going to try it. I'm not going to try it. You should know who I'm talking about if you watch golf. But that's so many questions going into this weekend. And, you've got Thursday, you've got Friday, you've got Saturday, and then you've got Sunday. And Sunday at the Masters, there's nothing like it. Also, I have to make it there at some point because the pimento cheese, I am a fan of pimento cheese. Been a massive fan of pimento cheese sandwiches my whole life. Their pimento cheese is like $1.50, dude. Also, they take your phone at the gate.
That's pretty
You
cool.
don't have your phone. All you got's your wallets. There's no pictures being taken. None of that. You just got to live in the moment. You got to rip beers because beers are like $5. And
They know what you're there for.
the sandwich, like a pimento cheese sandwich, dude. I'm gonna walk up there and go, "Can I get 4?"
Yeah.
And then come back in an hour and go, "Can I get 4 more?" You know what I mean? Like, why? How would
good.
you not?
They're very good.
Yeah, right. I've heard the mac and cheese is solid too. There's so many different things with the Masters, right? But this is a golf, for the average fan.
Going for the food.
Don't necessarily, yeah, all over the place over here on this side, right?
We'll catch Chad back at
You
the
gotta-
ninth hole. He's just
Yeah,
hanging
can you
out there.
imagine?
He's not making the trek.
Yeah, they're like, get this chump off the course. Like, why is this kid? Why are his pants around his ankles on the ninth hole? Like, who pants this drunk idiot? You know what I mean? No, not doing that. I can hold my booze. You know what I
Classy.
mean? Back,
Classy
we don't
enjoyer.
need to talk about 10 years ago at Cowboy games. Like, you've seen me.
Hey,
Thank
okay.
God for those porta potties.
Yeah.
All right, Masters. I'm all over the place, guys. Sorry. My big thing with this one is Scotty Scheffler going to come out and do it again? If he does it again, that's going to be absolutely absurd. But he hasn't looked like the Scotty Scheffler that he's looked like as of late. Now, I'm going to say that, and he's going to go out and just absolutely destroy. But my biggest thing, like I was saying, is Rory McIlroy, right? Like, this is a guy that's taken a lot of heat. You've probably seen this video. There was a guy chirping him about not winning the Masters, and he went and took his phone. Like, Rory went and took this fan's phone and just, like, walked off. I don't know what happened to the phone. I don't know what happened with the band. I heard the chirp. It was a solid chirp. But this kid was, like, a college golfer. And, yeah, I was, like, reading that story. I'm like, this is insane. But with Rory, it's just news after headlines after headlines. If you watch, Full Swing, he got divorced and then he got undivorced. Like, there's just all these headlines going on with Rory. But he's, like, top form right now. And this guy is winning majors, and this is a chance, like I said, to complete the career Grand Slam. So there's not a better ball striker, in my opinion. Like watching him and Bryson DeChambeau hit a drive is unbelievable. Bryson is going to take the ball to the next stratosphere.
To the moon.
And Rory, yeah, dude. And Rory's swing is just the crispest swing I've ever seen in my life. And I got to watch all these guys at the Dell match play. The only guy I didn't see there is like Scotty Scheffler, which I'm just like, dang it. Like I was there a year prior to when Scotty was there. But I got to watch everybody, man, and Tiger included. And you get to watch these guys from from me to my door. Like it's not far at all. I know you can't see my door, but it's not very far.
Just imagine it.
Yeah, just imagine it. Everyone on Spotify is like, I've been trying.
It's not a big group. Not a big group.
not a big group, guys. But you're right there to him. And the only other sport I've been like that, aside from like if you sit courtside at a basketball game, those tickets are absurd. It's like the X Games, right? Like sports, those type of sports. I'm not comparing the two, but it's a different feel. It's a different vibe when you're within spitting distance of these athletes, and you watch them hit a golf ball, and every time it's just ripped right down the middle. And you're like, this is insane. You know what I mean? And then you actually go out and play golf or go to Top Golf, and you're like, okay, the sport isn't as easy as it looks. You know what I mean? So big time sports week as we're talking about, but Masters in particular, man, I can't wait to watch it. You think you'll have it on Sunday? What do you think? Think you'll throw it on the tube?
I think, I've been a golf hater in years past, in episodes past, right? But it's the Masters, man. I think, you just gotta go and see what it's all about. And it's the greatest golf tournament in the world, right? It's the highest level. You got to watch it at the highest level. I think it's going to be very entertaining. I mean, it's just the emotions, the stress, the anticipation for just waiting for that shot to go down. So I think it's just it's peak drama. It's peak stress. Like if you want to watch someone go and just like tear their heart out, or your heart out, or just go watch that. And it's gonna be one of those like, it's just like the putt just doesn't go down, and you're just like, oh well, boom bada bing, guess what, we're all square going into this last hole, and it's like, oh god. So I think that the drama alone is just it just fills the tournament every single time. I think it's just it's a ruthless sport, and you have the best players in the world, and including the guys, from like those other leagues, or from the other tours, the Live Tour, not the PGA guys. So I think that's going to be really fun to see everyone kind of get back together, since a lot of that stuff has gone down with the different tours and stuff. So I'm really excited about that, and I think it's going to be really fun. Like I said, I've been a golf hater in the past, but throw it on. We'll see what it's got.
Welcome to the dark side. All right, now next thing. Last thing I gotta say. Go to the Masters on Instagram and just follow them, because like the stories and like just the pictures that it's so visually pleasing. It's unbelievable. That course is just 18 holes of just beautiful scenery and like greenery. And like me being a guy that likes to plant, I know, believe it or not, you're like, this guy plants too. Yeah, we're going to unsubscribe, right? It's unbelievable. All the stuff they got going on there is unbelievable. So big planter over here. All right. We got soccer in other countries. It's called football, and this is the biggest, the biggest viewed sport of all. We got Arsenal. We got Real Madrid in the Champions League.
Not for much longer.
And quarterfinals. Arsenal.
Declan Rice. just bending it like Beckham. He's bending it like Beckham. It's impressive. Look at what he's doing, man. This kid's just a brace against Real, like one of the best teams in the world. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. In Champions League, like in the quarterfinals against Giants with Real Madrid, who's only gotten better. Jude Bellingham, he's playing in form, and obviously Kylian Mbappe is doing his thing. So like they're just continuously getting better and better and better and better. Ancelotti is just one of the greatest coaches you've ever seen. He lays eyes on. So what Arsenal's doing right now is fantastic. It's just again, Declan Rice had a fantastic game. Just you don't see that. Not only do you see someone bend it from a set piece like that, you don't see it as much anymore. He not only did it once, and then he did it a second time from the same spot and did it better, and he put it top corner. So
That second one was filthy,
well,
dude.
I was just sitting here, I'm watching it, and it's just oh, here he goes again. Oh, he did it again. Like, oh, it's just a fantastic game from him, fantastic match from Arsenal. They're 3-up going into the second leg. It's going to take not a miracle from Real, you've seen it happen before, but
Against PSG.
it's going to be into the second leg of that of that match. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be really tough to come down from 3-0 if you're Real. They got the superstars to do it. Don't get me wrong, they do. It's going to take an Arsenal
Nice.
the opposite of a master class, a falter class, as you would call it. Yeah, so it's gonna. Arsenal looks like they're through, but the second leg could be absolute drama or just absolute heartbreak. It could be one of those two. So I'm gonna be watching the second leg, but Real's gonna have to pull it out of their butts. It's gonna have to take a miracle from Mbappe, from the boys.
Well, if you were to tell me too that in the quarterfinals you have Arsenal and Aston Villa as your only Premier League teams, you'd be like, "There's no way." You know what I mean? Like, there's absolutely no way. But Arsenal's there and doing it, and yet unbelievable game. Then you got on the other side, you had Bayern Munich versus Inter Milan, and Inter Milan takes it 1-2.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're watching these games, and you're like, "Okay, I thought Real was going to win, and I thought Bayern was going to win." And Inter goes out there and actually gets the dub, right? Like in the Italian league, series like A or 3 or whatever it's called. Like, what? You know what I mean? What?
It's impressive.
They're a good squad, though.
They're a good squad.
They're a good squad.
It's the Italians, man. I mean, they've been on the world stage for the last, I don't know, 5 to 10 years. They've just been putting out guys where you're just like, God dang, this guy is just world class. He's just continuing to do this over and over and over, and these guys just get better and better. So I like Inter. I think they've made big runs in the Champions League very, very recently. So I like what they're doing over there in the Italian league. And I think this game could have been a little bit closer. I think Bayern did not play nearly as well as you would have wanted them to. Their stars did not poke out as much as you wanted them to. Like, I'm looking at you, Harry Kane. He missed one just right off the post, like halfway through that game, and it's like you put that in. It's Harry Kane. He puts that in. He puts that in every single time. So not a great match from Bayern, but they'll come back. I think it's still anyone's match, just by the talent that they have. It's not quite the the massive deficit that Real's got to overcome. You know what I mean? Or what we're about to get to with Dortmund, but it's one of those things where it's like, okay, if you have a good second leg, I think he can still win it in advance, and Bayern has the talent to do that easily. I mean, they're the best German club, and they have been for years. So,
and like you mentioned, Italy. So they've won the World Cup 4 times, just Italy in general.
Mm-hmm.
And 1934, 1938, 1982, and 2006. I remember watching that one in 2006. You probably don't because you were a lot younger, but they beat France on penalties. I was wondering if they've won any World Cups or anything, and they have. They've won 4.
Yeah, well, and they've been very good in the Euros very, very recently too. If you want to look those up as well.
That's true.
There's a final with England very recently, so it's like bang, bada boom. They got guys like they always do. As you see by their World
Shout
Cup.
out Italy. Shout out Italy. All right, PSG, my squad.
Mm-hmm.
Against Aston Villa comes out, wins today 3-1. 1-1 going into halftime, and then PSG just said, give me this game. And 2 goals up on Aston Villa going in to the second. I'm pretty comfortable with that. But again, we talked about it like a little bit ago. I've seen PSG fumble a lead from Real. I've seen PSG fumble the biggest lead against Barcelona. So I'm holding my breath, but I'm feeling pretty good. And if you would have told me as a PSG fan at the beginning of the year, hey, you're going to make it to the round of 16 this year, I would say, okay. Okay. I can see that. Probably didn't win the round of 16, right? No, you did. You're in the quarterfinals.
Ooh.
No shit. That's my response. You know what I mean? And Mbappe's gone. Mbappe's in Real Madrid, who, just like you said, lost Arsenal 3-0. So Mbappe's my boy. No shade there. But PSG right now is kind of running with these young guns. And I kind of thought it was going to take a little bit longer for them to get going. But they are on the verge of potentially making it to the semifinals with the 2-goal lead. Now, a 2-goal lead is not a whole lot. If you could easily go out there and lose 2-0 and then have to bring it to PKs, like there's or OT then or extra time then PKs. So there's going to be a lot riding on that game. Obviously, I'm going to be pulling for PSG big time. I'm really just hoping that they get a 1-goal lead or something and just win it out. You know what I mean? What did you see in the PSG and Aston Villa game?
Um, I saw kind of exactly what you said. You know, it was very very close for a lot of that game. Probably the closest match we pretty much had throughout this kind of stage of the Champions League. And it looked like Aston Villa was kind of, you know, they were getting going. They were getting going. They had that first goal, and it was like, okay, here we go. You know, I thought Marcus Rashford had a very very fantastic center into the box, and it was like boom, bada bing. You know, it's kind of like me. Like Rashford's my boy. And he's been playing really well for this squad. So I was like, all right, I kind of, you know, wanted to see him, expected him to play well going into this game. He played all right. But again, you know, the biggest thing for me is like, you wanted to keep PSG 2-1 in that match because like you said, they have these young guys like Desiree Doué. He's fantastic. We were talking about him before we went live. Like he's just this young phenom. He looks fantastic, and it looks like, you know, PSG has life again after this whole Kylian Mbappe debacle in the past couple years, right? It's like, oh, boom, bada bing, they're back, they're ready to go, they're reloaded. Oh, that was quick. You know what I mean? So you don't want to concede that last goal at the end. That's the biggest thing for me. That Dembele goal, it was like, oh, it's like right at the end. It's like, oh, now you're down 3-1 and going into the next leg. If you were only down 1 going into the next leg, you know, switching
Doable.
stadiums, very, very doable. And it just takes an afternoon, just one afternoon of just a little bit of luck on your side, a little bit of PSG fault. You know what I mean? Just and then you go through the next round. So really tough to see. I think PSG. I'm not going to say they have this locked up, but I think that they look really good. Yeah, I know it's crazy to say, but like, you know, I think that if they continue this form like they're playing right now, they're going to be a hard team to stop, and they could easily make it to a final, Champions League final, and you never know at that point. Maybe the monkey's off the back, right? You know, maybe the Kylian Mbappe monkey is off the back, but maybe they can win that Champions League. I think they're looking really good. The other team we kind of need to talk about though is Barcelona before we start having that conversation with PSG, because Barcelona looked not only good, they looked like the best team remaining by far. And I was gonna say like, yeah, maybe Real's got a shot, maybe PSG's got a shot, but I think Barcelona with what they did today, it was very impressive. Very impressive.
4-0 against Dortmund.
They have the best
4-0.
players in the world. They have the best players in the world. It's obvious. Yamal's a freak. He's an absolute.
He's so good.
He's so good, and he's so young, and he's gonna be. I think they were saying like I think he's like 17 or 18. I don't even think he's 18 yet. And he's breaking records. He's breaking Messi's records, and he's breaking Ronaldo's like Champions League goal records. And it's like he's not even like what. This is crazy. He's going to be playing for Barca.
Pretty sure he scored for Spain at like 16. For Spain,
yeah, and
it's 16.
He's fantastic. I think he's going to continue to do what he does. Lewandowski is obviously one of the greatest goal scorers of our generation, and he's still doing it in his late 30s. You know what I mean? Mid to late 30s, and it's like boom, bada bing, easy stuff over here. Ronaldo, come on, what are we doing, boys? So he's still doing it at a very, very high level, and Barca's not slowing down anytime soon. So I would expect Barca to move on after that 4-0 defeat with Dortmund. Not a bad squad, but they always kind of make it there. Tough for the yellow wall, man. Tough for the yellow wall. I do like those guys. I rooted for them as a kid because I wasn't a Bayern fan. I wasn't a bandwagon. I was a Dortmund guy, you know. But
I'm a PSG guy.
yeah, so obviously my squad united. But whenever Dortmund is on, I root for them, and that didn't go well. And so Barcelona looks fantastic. They look like they're going to be the team to beat. I can't imagine Dortmund coming back from that. And I think they're going to go on pretty easily to the next round. And it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, I mean, to make it to a Champions League final, you're going to have to beat some good teams, right? So we'll see what happens. I think Barcelona and Barca's got that pretty much locked up. If they fumble a 4-0, that's insane. Like that's absolutely insane. If they fumble that, I don't think they will. But it's bigger stuff has happened.
That is tough. But let's move on to maybe the biggest fumble of the NHL season, Chad. because I want to get your take on this right away, because I was screaming last night at the Dallas Stars. If you did not see, if you were not watching, the Dallas Stars were playing the Vancouver Canucks, and they were up, I think 5-2 at one point in the last
Correct.
minute or so of the third
Correct.
period. And this is a game. I'll preface this without Jake Ottinger. You got Casey DeSmith in net for the Dallas Stars, and the Vancouver Canucks go on to tie them and go into overtime and win in overtime. And just want to get your thoughts on that, and just want to get your thoughts in general just on the recent Dallas collapse, because it's been I think 3 games in a row, if I'm not mistaken, just mistakes that have just cost them the games towards the end of the game. You can kind of look at the Pittsburgh game with Crosby doing what he does. They got smacked a little bit. That's a little while ago.
Wide open in the slot.
Yeah.
Why? Why would you leave Crosby wide open in this? Why would you leave him open ever? And Crosby goes and gets a Hattie against the Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have the Minnesota Wild game too. That is at the very end. You have Dallas playing a good game, but Minnesota ties it up, and then you have Cody Ceci and Thomas Harley just bump into each other in the back of the ice, and then boom, bada bing, it's a free chance for Minnesota. They score, and Dallas loses that game. And then same thing here against Vancouver in games that, mind you, they're currently in a race with Winnipeg for the top seed, and they need to win these games. You're granted, I guess they went into overtime, they get a point. Cool. You know what I mean? But you don't want to play Colorado in the first round. You want to play, I think Minnesota is kind of that leading candidate if you're the first overall seed, right? So that's going to be tough. And they're not playing like the Dallas Stars I think we know and love from last year's playoffs, from this year's in season, just this kind of clinical team who doesn't, kind of give this stuff up towards the end of the game. So what do you got on it, man? Because obviously I'm a little bit heated over here because it's just not going well.
I think you're seeing a product of what happens when your best defenseman is hurt. I think that's what you're seeing, because your best defenseman, Miro Heiskanen, would be out there, and I would assume probably not make some of those fumble plays like they've been making.
Well, yeah.
There's a couple ways to go with this. In hockey, if a team kind of, I guess in sports in general, if a team gets hot toward the end, that's usually pretty good. And then there's also a version of sport where if the team kind of fumbles it at the end, right? So there's 2 kind of ways that you can go with it. And for me, if you fumbled at the end, you need to come back and start the playoffs with the heater, and you're just going in. But if you're playing against Colorado, that's going to be a tough heater to start against. With Dallas specifically, it all depends on the injury of Miro Heiskanen. It's said that he's supposed to be back in the first round. If you make those mistakes in the playoffs, you lose. You don't win. It's just that simple. You will lose in the playoffs if you make mistakes like that. If you turn the puck over, not in your own zone, that's real bad. If you turn the puck over in your own zone with no help behind you, oh, that's even worse. And then Dallas doesn't, and when they do make it out of the zone, they don't even really make it to the red line, the middle of the ice, and they turn it over there too, and then they get kind of the fast chances going the opposite direction. So Dallas right now definitely needs to clean some things up. What I say, it's level of concern. It's tough to me because it's at the end of the season. So is every single player that you have playing, is every single player that you have that's a first line player playing 21, 22 minutes? Probably not. You know what I mean? You're probably sitting these guys and you're probably letting the fourth line go a little bit more. So at least from the games that I've watched, right?
You are.
So that's kind of my thing with Dallas. Like you mentioned, they're in a race with Winnipeg right now, and you drop all of these games. They are 4 points away. They have 106 points right now. Winnipeg has 110 points. There's 78 games tied. They both played 78. Next week is the end of the regular season on Thursday, if I'm not mistaken. So does Dallas have a chance now? That's tough, right? Dallas has to win pretty much every single game, and they have to hope for Winnipeg to lose a couple games for them to even sniff that first spot. And if they don't sniff that first spot, like you mentioned, most likely it's going to be Colorado. Now, the wild card in the West, you have St. Louis sitting there with 93 points, then Minnesota sitting there with 91 points. So the Blues have been on an absolute tear. They've been the best team in hockey, if I'm not mistaken, since the Four Nations. I mean, they've been on a tear, dude. So you don't really want to play the Blues right now, but at the same time, would you rather play the Blues or would you rather play Colorado in the first round? You know what I mean? And you don't really want to play Colorado because you got to play a guy by the name of Nathan McKinnon and the defenseman, the silkiest mitts of all time, Kale Salad McCarr, right? Like you've got guys on the Avalanche that you don't want to play. So my level of concern is not high, but it's also not low. I'll say that. Me being a San Jose Sharks fan, we were like the first team out of the playoff race, but the Dallas Stars hold a special place in my heart because Madonna was such a big player, and man, I used to watch those guys as a kid, and my first job out of college was growing the game of hockey for 3 years, so that was a freaking blast in Austin. That's kind of my thoughts on the Dallas Stars. In terms of the rest of everything going on, you nailed it. There's Winnipeg sitting there with 110 points. Then Colorado is right behind Dallas with 100 points. So Colorado's getting close in terms of catching Dallas. All three of those teams have already locked it up. Vegas locked it up. They have 103 points in the Pacific. The Kings, who have lost 4 games, if I'm not mistaken, all year at home. That's insane. They're sitting there at number 2. I wouldn't have thought that. They've clinched. Edmonton's sitting there with 93 points. They have not clinched.
Really?
So that third place in the Pacific is still up for grabs.
Well, do you want to play LA?
Yeah,
going to get a home field or a home ice advantage in that series.
It's gonna be tough. You have to split with LA at home. Like you have to. If you don't split with LA at home, that's going to be a long series.
And if it is,
and then like I mentioned, St. Louis and Minnesota.
If it is Edmonton, I know they've had struggles just historically playing the Kings. And it's like you don't. I'm just saying, you've got a lot of storylines kind of headed if that is the matchup, if that is the series, and you don't want to be Edmonton going out in the first round, especially with a Stanley Cup final appearance the previous season. So I don't know.
Well, in Edmonton right now too, like you've got Leon Draisaitl who's hurt, you've got Connor McDavid who's hurt, like you've got the 2 big guns that are going to be hurt, and how hurt are they? You've got Evander Kane that's supposed to be coming back. Like there's so many guys that aren't really playing, right? And so it's like for me, Edmonton still again hasn't locked it up yet, which is interesting. But Edmonton's a team for me that like you always have to watch out, because if you get, to me what it feels like, just get to the playoffs. Just get to the playoffs with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl and just let them go. You know what I mean? Unleash them. Now, we've seen Edmonton specifically, Leon Draisaitl is the leading goal scorer in the league. If I'm not mistaken, he hit 50 goals the other night. But again, playing hobbled, playing injured, and then he re-injured himself. But with Edmonton and Connor McDavid, like what version of Connor are we going to get? Because Connor this season, you can argue, has not been the Connor McDavid that you've seen of other seasons. Now, go watch him in the 4 Nations. Go watch him, you know what I mean, and all the other stuff. Like he was there every single time. You could say that he wasn't in the 4 Nations in some of the games, but it's Connor McDavid. You know what I mean? Connor McDavid's a guy that has generational talent. Absolutely. You can't even talk about it. And the fastest, craziest skater from someone that used to play the game. Like the stuff he does, you don't understand how hard it is to do. Like his edge work, the way he is completely stationary and gets somewhere on the ice within 2 seconds is unbelievable. It's his strides are next level, his power is next level, his speed is next level, his moves are next level, and he's just a next level player. And then you've got, like I said, Leon Draisaitl, who is the best goal scorer in the NHL this season. But they're both hurt. Right? Like that's the thing, but they're both hurt. So we'll see what happens with them specifically. Last teams that have a chance at the wild card in the western side, you've got Calgary with 87 points, Vancouver with 85 points, Utah with 84 points. St. Louis is sitting there at 93 at number 1, Minnesota 91. So Minnesota, it's going to be, or St. Louis, it's going to be kind of, all they got to do is win like 1 to 2 more games, and they pretty much lock it up. Minnesota, pretty much the same thing. You got Calgary and Vancouver got to go on a heater to kind of get that thing going. That's the West. Let's go to the East.
The East.
All right, here we go. East. Wild card, we've got, oh my gosh, Ottawa's got 90 points in the wild card. That's insane. That's insane, dude. You got Ottawa at 90 points. They've clinched the wild card spot. So that spot's already taken. And then you've got, Montreal with 87 points sitting there. Like I mentioned, Ottawa's at 90. The Rangers are at 79.
It's tough.
And then you've got Detroit at 79, the Islanders at 79, and the Columbus Blue Jackets at 79.
So the cup's coming home to the West. Is all I'm saying.
Hey, we'll see. We will see what happens. The Canadians have had something to say about that. On the east side.
Hey, Florida's still in the East.
It happens. Ottawa has been one of the most fun teams to watch because of just the tear that like Brady Tkachuk has been on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been in and out of the lineup, but when he's in the lineup, he's, if you didn't watch him at the Four Nations, please go watch him because it was just an unbelievable scene that this guy did at the Four Nations. Okay, Eastern Conference, here we go. So in the Atlantic and the Metropolitan, we're just going to go with that on this one. Toronto's sitting there who's clinched. Tampa is sitting there who's clinched. Florida is sitting there who clinched. And Ottawa is sitting there and clinched. So those 4 spots are completely taken. Like I mentioned, Montreal is going to be sitting there, as well as Ottawa, who's already clinched it. Then you've got the Washington Capitals. You've got Alexander Ovechkin, who just broke the all-time goal record of Wayne Gretzky. It's just an unbelievable. Like, they need to just, I don't even know. That guy's getting handed 2 Coors beers after the game and just ripping it with Wayne Gretzky and Gary Bettman sitting right next to you. It's like in the hot Cheetos and sub, just a legend, just an absolute legend and an old school guy. Like Alexander Ovechkin is a freaking I love that guy. Like, how do you do a belly slide when you have 800 and something goals? Like that guy's unbelievable, man. We'll see how it goes with the Capitals, though, in the playoffs. And then you've got Carolina, who's also clinched it. So, it's going to be a fun playoffs. We've got a week left until we got NHL playoffs. And we'll talk a little bit more about NHL playoffs throughout the time. But that's what we got for the NHL side. Tanner, we've got NBA going.
Here we go.
You know what I mean? We got some NBA playoff races going. Tanner's going to get into it. And I'm just going to say this. This is an episode we're both being nice, right?
Nice.
Tanner did not shit on golf. I'm not going to shit on basketball this episode. Okay, I'm not going to.
We love it. We love to see it. I don't know why you would shit on it because we've got a crazy race. The races have been crazy in the NHL, but I don't know if we've ever quite seen a race like this in the Western Conference since I've been watching basketball as adamantly as I have. Because you have, and I'm just going to kind of throw the wins out there. From third place, we have, this is kind of where things in the Western Conference start getting important, right? OKC's number 1. Houston is clinched. It looks like they're probably going to be number 2. I'm pretty sure. You have LA, the Lakers, the Clippers right behind them, Denver right behind them, who just fired their head coach, Golden State.
And GM.
Sorry. Both of them. Get them out. I don't know what's going on. Hey,
stupid move.
San Antonio. You know what to do. Anyways, you got Memphis at 7, Minnesota at 8. And then we have Sacramento and Dallas at 9 and 10, and then Phoenix at 11. And we can just throw Phoenix out the window because I don't think they're making anything. They're 3 games back in the play-in. I don't even know how many games we have left, but it's not a whole lot. It's like 3 or 4. It's not a lot. Because the play-in starts, I think, this time next week. So we got about a week left. It's like 7 days-ish of basketball left. But you look at the teams, 3 through, we'll say 7 or 8, right? All of them, the Lakers have 48 wins. The Minnesota Timberwolves at 8 have 46 wins. The teams in between that, with LA, Denver, Golden State, and Memphis, who are 4, 5, 6, and 7, have 47 wins. So there are 2 wins separating the 3rd seed and the 8th seed. So, and if you don't watch a whole lot of NBA basketball, you do not want to play in the play-in because it's like the NCAA tournament. It's a single elimination for the most part, unless you're in that 7-8 game. If you're the 9-10 seed, it's a single elimination. If you're the 7-8 seed, it's a double elimination. To get into the playoff, basically. You're basically deciding who the 7 seed is going to be in that first game and who that 8 seed is going to be in that second, or I guess 3rd overall game. because you have the 9 play the 10, and then the winner of that game plays the loser of 7-8. So you don't want to go to the play-in because it's wild. You have these teams that are just kind of galvanized, right? Like I was saying earlier, just wanting to get into the playoffs, make a road into the playoffs. I mean, like you wouldn't want to play a team like Sacramento. I wouldn't want to play a team like that because they just beat Cleveland, which is the best team in the Eastern Conference, and they made it look easy. Zach LaVine's playing really well. Sabonis, DeMar DeRozan, the whole story. Like, it's not a fun place to be. And if you're a team like the Lakers or your team like Denver, where it's like, okay, there's a little bit of uncertainty. Like obviously Luka, he's been playing well, but sometimes it's up and down. Sometimes LeBron's not in the lineup. This whole thing, and again with like Denver, they just fired their head coach. Like, you don't want to see them kind of fall into the play-in. So it's going to be a mad race. Golden State, the Clippers are playing a lot better than I think a lot of people were giving them credit for. So it's going to be a crazy race. I would watch like every single game in the Western Conference. They're usually the later games because they're all going to matter, right? LA's been playing well recently, but again, like you got to win these games. You do not want to be playing in the play-in, or even if, like, let's say you're the 6th seed, right? What would that make you play? The 4 seed, I think. Yeah, because one would play 8. And if you're the 6th seed, well, no, you play the 3 seed if you're the 6th seed, right? So that's tough, man. I don't think I would want to do that, and I don't think a whole lot of other teams want to do that. But that's the race in the Western Conference. It's a lot more locked up in the East, but I haven't seen a race like this in recent memory in a long, long time. But the East is pretty much locked in. We have kind of, Cleveland number 1, and I'll go down the list with Boston, New York, Indiana, Milwaukee, Detroit, and then in the play-in we have Orlando, Atlanta, Chicago, and Miami, which kind of surprising, but I think Miami's played really well, given that they don't have a Jimmy Butler anymore. Bam Adebayo's kind of painting that big role. So what do you got on either of these conferences? I know we'll start with your squad, the Lakers, but the East looks pretty locked up, but the West is an absolute frenzy right now for those last couple spots. But I do want to kind of put it into comparison with the leagues before I let you get on with it. But the last team, the 10th seed overall right now, which is Dallas in the West, has 38 wins. And the 10th seed in the East has 36. So the lowest play-in team in the East has 39 wins, and the best play-in team in the West has 47. So just put that into perspective with Memphis, that the kind of massive range that we have right now in the play-in in either conference.
I mean, sounds like a winner's coming from the West, in my opinion. We'll see. But it's tough because you got like Boston, who, recent winners. You got Cleveland, who's playing unbelievable and is like one of these teams that it's interesting to see if they can continue that run in the playoffs, right? If Donovan Mitchell can continue to do what he's doing in Cleveland. Specifically in the playoffs, it's interesting because a lot of guys don't get a lot of calls. And so the fouls aren't really there as much anymore. And so the playoffs, for me, I actually love watching basketball in the playoffs because it's like I feel like that's what basketball kind of should be. I love the finals too. Like, that's obviously my favorite ones to watch just because those guys go at it. You know what I mean? Like, they absolutely go at it, and it's like everything is left on the floor there. And that's the best with playoff basketball. That's why I like watching all playoff sports, even baseball, right? But specifically with the Lakers, you got Luka, and Dallas got to a championship with Luka and Kyrie, and I would argue that this Lakers team is a little bit better than that Mavericks team. So for me, I'm pretty confident in that. This is it going to be this year? I hope so. But the whole thing with LeBron, that's kind of up in the air. You don't know the full extent of everything that's kind of going on there. You'll figure it out after the season, right? But I'm obviously going to ride with my Lakers. Am I like fully confident and we can go bet the house on it? Absolutely not. But I think it's going to be good playoffs. And I think that you have a couple teams in the East at the top that are very, very good. And it's like kind of a juggernaut thing going on in the East over there. You got 2 teams on top that are just disgusting with Cleveland and Boston. And it's good for basketball when the Lakers and the Knicks and Boston are all in the playoffs. So let's get all of them in the playoffs. Let's get it going. The fact that, like you said, the games are literally 1.2 points away from the 3rd seed or the 4th seed all the way down to the 8th seed, 10th seed is incredible. So yeah, watch basketball at the end of the season, because if you miss a game, your team could drop 5 spots. You know what I mean? Or they could raise 5 spots. So basketball is going to be fun this year. And obviously I'm going to be stoked because Luka's on my squad, and that's who I'm going to be watching, Anything else on old basketball, or we good to talk about a little bit of hockey?
I mean, we already did. We'll talk about a different brand of hockey. So yeah, we'll continue on. But yeah, go watch the NBA. It's getting real exciting.
Yeah, Yeah, and your squad, I'll give you a shout out. Your squad's you are a San Antonio guy, Texas guy,
Of course.
but Cleveland it has a special place in your heart. No one
does.
has any clue how or why it does,
It just
but it
does.
just randomly does for you.
It does. Go
So
Cavs. Go Cavs, baby. Donovan Mitchell. Go
see,
Cavs. Absolutely. Jared
there you go.
Allen. Evan Mobley, defensive player in the year. I'm calling it right now. Come on, give it to him. Suck it, Draymond. You know what I mean? Like, both are going to be in the all defensive team. Let's be honest. But give it to Evan.
Yeah,
Mobley.
Draymond's just like
You see what he's doing, man. You see what Evan Mobley's over here doing. Dude's lanky. He's disgusting. Donovan Mitchell has activated him. Come on. Give him the DPOY.
there we go.
And then no one's ever going to win it after that. That's not named Victor Wembanyama. So just
That's it right there. I was
Yeah.
about to say
When
when
it-
he's healthy, it's this.
win it while you can is kind of my sentiment on that.
I remember Draymond when he was like back in the heyday with Golden State. He was so good,
He's still pretty good.
like so good
Yeah.
defensively, shutting
so
down
good.
big men. But the Warriors are back. We'll see what happens this year. Yeah,
Jimmy
it's gonna be a fun playoffs, man.
Steph
It's gonna
is-
be a really fun playoffs.
Steph is still him. Jimmy Butler is doing so much of that dirty work. Like Draymond is playing at the best he has been playing since
In a while.
since the 2016 Warriors. Like he's been playing
Yeah, Draymond looks
fantastic.
good.
It's fun to have the Warriors, like you were saying, the Warriors, the Cavs, the Knicks, the Celtics, the Lakers. Like these teams. Unfortunately, another big team like the 76ers, they're not in it. But like, hey, let's go Detroit. You know what I mean? Like, let's go Pistons. So
76ers, that's Carmelo Anthony's played more games than Joel Embiid. He's been retired for 3 years. Thanks for that one, ESPN. All right, that was the last thing I promise I'll say. I had to do it against Joel. I could not do it.
OKC Thunder, they're pretty cool. Shay's gonna win another MVP, he's gonna win his
Dude.
first MVP and deny Jokic
Dude.
his whatever, however many, fourth, something like that.
OKC's a problem.
They're
That's the
disgusting.
biggest question mark I have is how far they're going to get in these playoffs.
I
Because
think-
if they get to like we're talking the game before the finals or the finals, that's terrifying for everybody else because how young they are and how many
Mhm.
more draft picks they have and how many guys they haven't signed the long-term contracts.
I'm
Maybe
thinking-
that's a little bit.
I'm thinking conference finals. I think they go, and then unfortunately, it's just one of those things. It's tough being a 1 seed. It really is, unless you're like Boston, who's just unbeatable, like last year, or like Denver was like a couple years back, where Jokic was just literally making every shot. Not saying he doesn't already. I mean, he dropped 60, 20, 20 like earlier this year, but it's gonna be tough for the Nuggets. It's gonna be, but like you have a team like the Lakers or like the Clippers, that's like, whoa, you know what I mean? At the beginning of the year, no one was expecting them to win a championship, and now they're like playing really well, and they're just continuing to get better and better. Like the Lakers could absolutely make the run. A lot of teams can make, like the Warriors. Like Steph gets hot in a series against OKC. You're telling me that's not going to. You're telling me Steph's not going back to the finals. I'm picking Golden State in that one. So he's been there,
Good
done
luck.
that. It's one of those things. Like there's a lot of talent in the West. Like Anthony Edwards is maybe playing in the play-in. Like that's crazy. John Morant could be playing in a play-in. Like the
They're so good.
East, like Minnesota,
They're so
Memphis. Like those two teams are like nobody's talking about them at all. So I think the champion comes out of the West. I would love to see if it comes out of the East, Cleveland. But I don't. It's gonna be tough. That's gonna be. I think the conference finals for the East is the big game, and I think every game in the West is gonna be the big game. So I think the
Dude,
conference finals
John
is the big
Ant-
one in the East.
John Ant toward the rim are so fun to watch.
I know. Imagine
Just
they
so fun
match
to
up
watch.
against each other. It's just gonna be boom on one side, boom on the other side. It's just gonna be a dunk contest.
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. Okay. Go watch basketball. Last thing you need to go watch is the Frozen Four. You need to go watch Frozen Four. That's on tomorrow. You've got Denver against Western Michigan tomorrow, and Penn State and Boston University, not Boston College, Boston University. It's big. This is big
Chad,
time
tell-
stuff here.
Tell us what this is for all our viewers who are unfamiliar with the Frozen Four.
College hockey. You know what I mean? You had March Madness. This is kind of essentially the March Madness of college hockey. You have teams that play against each other, not anywhere near the terms of how many teams and all that kind of stuff in brackets, but just champions of college hockey. And you get to watch, they each play in their conferences and win in the conferences, and they get to play each other. So, like I said, Denver came out and their coach is unbelievable. I wonder if he's ever going to go to the NHL. And then you've got Western Michigan, who's the first time that I don't know if they've ever been to, the men's hockey championship, the Frozen Four in the NCAA. You've got Penn State, who's a team that it's interesting. that Penn State's there. I wouldn't have pegged Penn State to be there, but they are. And then Boston University is there, and you can interchange Boston College and all those other schools, right? That lost literally right before this round. So a lot of good hockey games. And the reason I like the Frozen Four is because you're going to see a lot of these guys in the NHL, and a lot of these guys have already been picked by NHL teams. For example, you had a kid by the name of Ryan Leonard who played for Boston College who lost, and they got picked in the 4th round by the Capitals, and they immediately brought him up, and he scored an empty net goal, and I'm pretty sure he got an assist on an Ovechkin goal, if I'm not mistaken. So it's cool to watch these guys play college hockey, and then the next week they're playing playoff hockey, right? Like it's one of those things. It's like that's pretty cool. You know what I mean? And the level is just so different when it comes to college hockey and when it comes to playoff hockey. But it's good hockey, and let's see how many times we can say hockey before the podcast ends. That's it. All right.
Hockey.
Anything else here?
One more. Hey, let's get one more hockey. And I guess I said it. Unfortunately, I took it. Sorry. That's it. You can't say it. I'm sorry. I took it. You know.
Folks, next week and the following weeks, we're going to do football. We are doing the draft because the draft is in a couple weeks. Not sure we're going to do the live stream of the first round. We'll keep you posted on that. But if we don't, regardless, you're going to get rankings of all the guys that we got, top 5 rankings of each minimum. Then you're going to get a mock draft as well, the final mock draft. And Tanner will have it up on the screen and everything. The order of those episodes, we're not sure. But I know you're stoked, and I know we've been getting asked about football. And we promise we're going to go in depth with all that stuff. And I'm going to go ahead and show you guys exactly what I got with all my stuff. I think that's about it. I think we'll see you next week, folks.
Peace, folks. Go watch the NBA. Go watch the NHL. Go watch it all. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the draft starts.